皆さん、また来てくださってありがとうございます。こちらはマンハッタンニューヨーク、水曜日の午後です。ということでね、今日の動画はね、全然世界情勢と無関係で、これ前からあげるって言ってたんですけど、なかなかあげることができなくて、旬のものでなくなっちゃう前に、まだ香りが残っているうちにあげようかなっていうことで、共和党大会のタッカーカールソンさん乗っけたいと思います。私ね、すごくね、タッカーカールソンさんが好きなんですよ。だから、ぜひ皆さんにもお暇な時に見てください。まあね、若干、トランプさんほっこりエピソードも入ってます。ということで、どうぞ。
Can I just say, Peter Navarro is back. Welcome to Peter Navarro.Suffering the fate that has happened to so many who are friends with Donald Trump. I watched the video of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania about 50 times. The more I watched it, the more it struck me that everything was different after that moment. Everything. This convention is different. The nation is different. The world is different. Donald Trump is different. When he stood up,after being shot in the face, bloodied, and put his hand up, I thought at that moment, that was a transformation. This was no longer a man. He was no longer just a political party's nominee, or a former president, or a future president. This was the leader of a nation. And I think there's a difference. There's a great power, obviously, but if you think about it, that is a title that is bestowed by a process of some sort that can be subverted. And in the end, it does not confer by itself, as no title does, legitimacy. Just because you call yourself the president doesn't mean that much inherently. I can call my dog the CEO of Hewlett-Packard. It doesn't mean she is. And you hate to say it, but it is also true, is a fact, that you could take, I don't know, a mannequin, a dead person, and make him president. No, you could. I'm just saying theoretically possible. With enough cheating, that could happen. But being a leader is very different. It's not a title. It's organic. You can't name someone a leader. A leader is the bravest man. That's who the leader is. That is true in all human organizations. This is a law of nature. You know, I think it changed him. I reached out to Trump within hours of it that night, and what he said to me that night, having just been shot in the face, he said not a single word about himself. He said only how amazed he was and how proud he was of the crowd, which didn't run. And I thought two things. The first thing I thought was, well, of course they didn't run. His courage gave them heart. A leader's courage gives courage to his people. And the second thing I thought was, this is the selfish guy I've been hearing about for 9 years? Really? Not a word about himself? He turned down the most obvious opportunity in politics to inflame the nation after being shot. To inflame the nation. Which is an opportunity that almost every other politician I've ever met, and certainly his opponents, would have taken instantly. He did his best to bring the country together, and I thought, this is the divisive figure, this is the irresponsible person. No. This is the most responsible, unifying behavior of a leader I think I've ever seen. So, of Donald Trump's public life has been to remind us of one fact, which is, a leader's duty is to his people, to his country, and to no other. That's the point. That's the only point. And another word for this is democracy. Democracy, in case you're a little sick of being beaten in the face with democracy on television, actual democracy is the proposition that the citizens of a country own that country. They're not renters, they're not serfs, they're not slaves, they are the owners of the country. And for that to be true, their leaders have to represent them, which is another way of saying they have to do what the people want them to do. But if they completely ignore what people want, not just 1 year, but generationally, say for 50 years, then it may be, I don't know what, it's not a democracy. And so I think the entire Trump project, paradoxically, is attacked as an enemy of democracy, is to return democracy to the United States. Hey, let's pay attention to what people actually want. In 2018, Antifa came to my house. My wife was home alone. They tried to come in through the front door. They terrorized her. She hid in our pantry. It was on television. It was horrible, actually. The next morning, we're lying in bed, and the phone rings for my wife, and it's Donald Trump, who's not like a regular text buddy of Donald Trump's. She picks it up. Hello? Susie, it's Donald Trump. And it's coming through. I can hear it. You know, I'm lying in bed. Whoa. And the first thing he says is, I'm going to stand guard outside your house. And she goes, oh, it's yeah, so nice. And he says, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He says, you know, there's a lot of hate out there. And she said, no, there is, Mr. President. And then he says, but there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. And we are seeing that love. I don't think it's human love. I'm not always convinced that I'm on the right side. I've been on the wrong side many times. You'll never hear me say, I'm on God's side, or God's with me, or even I'm with God. I want to be, not sure I am. But I will say this unequivocally and conclusively. God is among us right now. And I think that's enough.